Where the bad pianos start the show, keys all out of tune, just watch them go. Welcome to Adam and Joe talking nonsense on the Outside Scoop podcast show.
Hello and welcome to an emergency podcast.
Emergency broadcast.
It is the Outside Scoop with
me, Adam.
and me, Joe.
This is not going to be a numbered episode.
No, we're already confused.
This is an election special.
An election special. Last week on Wednesday, Rishi Sunak came out in the pouring rain
Finally.
and
Finally.
gave us everything we wanted.
Oh,
It's probably the best move he's
it's
made.
the only thing he's ever said that made any sense.
He's calling a general election.
Finally.
He's had a chat with the King. He's dissolving Parliament
He
this
said-
week.
4th of July, boys.
Yeah, and he set the date, 4th of July. And for me, it was a great relief.
Oh, it's just finally, isn't it? It's just finally.
We knew it was coming. We knew it had to be within the next...
Well, it had to be
12
within the
months
next,
or
yeah, it
whatever.
had to be by this time next year, didn't it?
It had to be called. And so for them, it was just a case of timing this election, I think. And when, they needed a bit of good news to announce it on. And on that day, we had the the inflation rate come down to 2.4% or whatever it is. It's not important, but it came down to a number.
It came down on a completely contrived nonsense,
Yeah.
didn't it? You know, it's come down, but it's like, yeah, but is it though?
And then he could use that number to say, I've done my job.
Yeah.
And he hasn't. he hasn't done his job whatsoever.
Done anything.
So we put out a little short on our channel, just a little like fun.
I can't believe it.
We just a little fun kind
Just
of.
a little. We'll be talking about this.
Yeah, here's a clip of Rishi. Go look at our shorts, and you'll see it. Rishi's announcing the election, and then I just clipped in, some England fans cheering, like, yeah, that's what we wanted.
Winning
And it's our most popular short
by many.
by many. We've only got 35 subscribers.
Have we got 35
We've
now?
got we gained 13 subscribers just from that short.
Did we really?
Yeah.
So we gained 13 subscribers, and they haven't heard us do anything
No,
yet.
so we increased
Wow.
our subscriber base by 40% or something like that.
Yeah.
So all the way up,
The
boys.
Strauss and Gregory families need to up their game a bit, don't they?
So and lots of comments, lots on that.
Hundreds, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it was.
I got an email for every one.
You did, didn't you? You
I had
did,
to
didn't
turn
you?
it off.
And some of the comments were quite funny. Anybody on the internet now, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you get people just going, Reform UK, Reform UK.
Yeah, I need to look into that.
And then you get people like, oh, it's not going to change anything. They're all drinking from the same.
Well, two cheeks, one arse keeps coming up, doesn't it?
Doesn't matter who you do. It's always the same thing, and nothing's going to change. And what you're cheering for, it's all the same. It's all the same. It's all the same. I don't believe it is the same. I grew up in a Labour government.
Well, our formative years were in a Labour government,
And
it definitely felt like there was more.
yeah, I don't know if that's just nostalgia. You're always looking back, thinking, things were always better. But up until 2010, before the Conservatives came in, we were working. We were out there working, and we weren't kids. We were definitely younger and more wet behind the ears.
Yeah, but we were out there earning money, paying rents.
And even when we had the financial crash of 2008, which wiped out a lot of people, a lot of governments.
It was an American thing, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Really, but
it was felt around the world
it was, of course,
because they're the leaders of money markets and lending, and they basically set the tone for the world.
Yeah.
Not so much now. Now we've got other economies which are competing with America's, but certainly back then, I feel that what happened in America did set the tone.
It happened everywhere, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Labour, unfortunately, did have to kind of mop up
pieces.
that mess for the last 2
Nothing to do
years.
with our government.
Nothing to do with our
It had
government.
nothing to do with the Labour government, but they had to fix it.
And because of that, I think the Conservatives have been riding on those coattails, those excuses for 14 years about the previous administration.
They're still saying, well, we had to fix. They're still saying it now.
Yeah.
How the previous administration messed things up and they've got to fix it.
That's probably an Americanism, isn't it? Administration. The
Yeah,
previous
it's not-
government.
The previous government, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're still saying it.
Yeah.
They're still saying it's like it's 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Labour have got nothing to do with any problems now. It's all you.
All you.
And if you're trying to blame someone else, you're a bad leader.
And that's all they do.
Yeah.
All they do is what we've inherited
Blame others.
was a mess.
Yeah.
Pal, you've been working on this for 14 years
Yeah.
now.
And you've got nowhere.
Yeah. Got absolutely nowhere. So I thought I'd just have a quick look back at what did... Now, this isn't who you should vote for. This isn't vote for Labour, vote for Conservatives, Reform, Green, Lib Dems, Independents. I'm not saying that. But I have gone and looked back at what did Labour do during their last tenure.
Right.
Because a lot of people are like, what have they done for me? They just, they're useless there.
They actually did an awful lot.
They did a lot.
They did a lot in the background that
Yeah.
you didn't know about.
So just to run through a couple of things.
Hit me.
During their time, they tripled the NHS budget,
There you go.
which in turn reduced wait times.
Yeah, but the last Conservative government convinced us all that we were going to, what is it, times the NHS budget by 10 every single day?
£350 million a day or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Where's my £350 million a day, Boris?
So they tripled the NHS budget,
Yeah.
reduced waiting times, and you could get a dentist,
Yeah.
and you can't get a dentist
And you could
now.
get a doctor's appointment.
And I think one thing that every parent would like is this for their child to have the same as what they had, if not better.
It's definitely not better.
I
You got kids. What's it like for yours?
Well, when I was a kid, their age, I could go to a dentist,
Yeah.
and it didn't cost my mum
Anything.
anything. I don't know how much it was.
I
7
don't
quid,
think- no,
8
I don't
quid.
think it cost anything.
I don't know. There was always a little fee,
I
but
don't
it was.
think there was, because I don't think my mum and dad ever paid anything.
But now they can't go to a dentist. They can't go to an NHS dentist. Local to us, we can't get a private dentist because they're all fully booked.
Wow.
And the nearest private dentist is 20 miles away. And for a kid to go get a checkup, it's 40 quid.
That's ridiculous.
We've got 3 kids. That's 120 quid every 6 months
Yeah.
for them to go have a checkup.
Just for dentists.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. It angers me, that does.
Mm.
And that's not taking into account myself and my wife. We're 90 quid a checkup. And my wife's teeth are fine. She's always had great teeth. My teeth always need drills.
I think they're fine.
They're fine. They're straight. They're white. But
Yeah.
I'm always getting little holes and stuff.
Which is odd because you don't like sweeties.
I don't like sweeties.
No.
I've just got weak teeth.
Must
But
be that Tongan blood.
yeah. So there's that whole thing where I now got to fork out. God knows how much it is because you had some dentistry work doing. And
Yeah, I think we talked about it before. It cost me about 1,300 quid in the end.
yeah, who's got that kind of money? Nobody.
I only had it because I was fortunate.
Yeah.
You know.
So they did that. School budgets doubled. They introduced civil partnerships.
Nice.
They halved child poverty.
Nice.
They
Better.
introduced maternity pay.
Did they really?
Yeah.
There was no maternity pay before that.
As far as I can tell, there might have been something. But
It weren't.
maternity pay, as we know it, was
The
introduced
thing
by
the Labour
Labour.
government brought in a lot of, what Labour did on that new Labour thing is they basically went, right, okay, we can't beat the Conservative government, let's join them.
Yeah.
And yeah, two cheeks, same arse kind of thing. But what they did is they go, right, if this is the system we're going to have, let's use this system and bring as much social reform into it as we can.
Yeah.
You know, we may not be able to do it with the government, but we can make businesses do it.
Certainly.
Didn't they?
So maternity pay and then paternity leave / pay.
Paternity.
Mother and father. The crime rate in the UK reduced by 43%.
How much?
43%
No
during
way.
during their tenure.
You don't think that might have had something to do with the leaded petrol being taken out the system, though?
Could have been that. That's crazies around.
That's nutters.
We had the Human Rights Act, which was introduced.
Yeah.
They introduced Northern Ireland and Welsh assemblies.
Yeah, they did the Scottish one as well, didn't they? They put them all in.
Scottish government. I think it's called something different. The Scottish
Oh,
one.
is it?
So,
But they basically made them not independent, but they gave them more powers. didn't
so
they?
he introduced devolution,
Yeah.
basically. So
It's amazing, isn't it?
they've got more power in their countries. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're countries. Let's not forget.
Yeah, well, they are, aren't
They're
they?
whole countries.
Yeah.
They're not a
It's not-
county.
It's not bloody Northumberland.
It's not part of England.
No.
England's England.
Yeah.
Yes, we are Great Britain, and we all sing from the same hymn
But they
sheet.
should have their own. But that's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
They brought in their own almost governments there, didn't they?
Yeah. They introduced I think either the free heating bill for elders, old people, or reduced heating or heating grants.
It's the grants, isn't it? They
So,
got the grants, didn't they?
Yeah, they looking after old people.
Hey, this might be on your list, but I'm going to jump ahead and say, didn't they bring in compulsory minimum wage?
Yeah, that's on the list.
Because there was no minimum wage before. You could pay someone 50p an hour.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Very Victorian, Edwardian
conservative
kind of way of thinking. Yeah, just paying 50p an hour.
And we know the Conservatives have put the minimum wage up, but they've only put it up so that, well, to keep their numbers running.
Yeah.
Because if you have people earning less money, you're not getting any taxes out of it.
Yeah.
That's amazing, though, isn't it? The Labour government brought in a minimum wage.
Minimum wage. They put in 24 paid holiday days.
Did they?
So I don't know what it was before, but it's 24, and I think it's still 24 plus bank holidays. So we've not had we've not seen any increase really on that.
We haven't seen any, have we?
The Children's Act of 2000, they put in 1.9 billion pounds into housing, which built in 1990. No. Sorry, in 2000. No, I've got my numbers wrong. We'll scratch that. I'm not going to read the information which is wrong. We'll try and make sure this is right.
We're going to try.
Yeah. Child tax credit. The Gender Recognition Act of 2004.
Right.
I don't know anything about that, but some people will.
Some people will be quite appreciative of that.
Sounds like it was important. Minimum wage, as you've said. And so that's kind of some of the key things which they did. And I've gone to look at what the Conservatives have done over their 14 years, and it's been quite difficult.
Really?
It's been quite difficult to find what have they done.
Not actually any big moves that they've ever made. They've not brought any big changes
I've not seen any huge acts being brought in.
Really?
We've seen...
It's because they spent most of the time fanning about with Brexit.
Well, this is the thing. I went onto the Conservatives' website to find out what are they saying they've achieved.
Right.
3/4 of it was Brexit.
Yeah, because that's all they did.
Yeah.
Which is,
They have done some stuff.
You and I didn't want it.
They have done some stuff. So they allowed the Scottish referendum.
Yeah.
They agreed to that, which I can only say is probably a good thing. Scotland voted on that. They had a say in their own country.
They had a choice, yeah.
And they decided to stay as a union.
Do you imagine? I imagine that most Scottish that voted to stay in the union were really pissed off when the Brexit vote went.
I think they were. I remember that. I remember getting vibes.
They're like, well, we voted to stay, and now you lot are voting to leave.
Yeah.
Because the Brexit vote basically hung on Middle England, didn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And boomers.
Anyway, we're going to be dead in a minute anyway.
So the Scottish referendum, they introduced free childcare. So that's something which I use.
Well, Conservatives brought that in.
Yeah.
Did they
So
really?
that's something I use in nurseries. That's what it's for. So for me, it's children over 3, but I think they've just reduced that down to 2.
Right.
And I think in some circumstances from like 8 or 9 months. It's 15 hours a week. And that just allows...
Really?
Yeah.
That seems a bit odd to me, but I'm not a parent, so...
I think there is a 31, but I think we only get the 15. There's some qualifications there. But that just allows you to go out to work and have some of the bill paid for.
Yeah.
Both mum and dad. Whether that's a good thing or not, you decide, because we'll probably talk about this further down the line about whole...
You just end up going to work to pay for the childcare, don't
Yeah.
you?
And how... back, in the
Wouldn't
40s
happen
or
under
50s,
a Labour
60s,
government, would it?
one bloke could go out. Not just a bloke, but one person of the family could go
well,
out
it was
and
always
work.
the bloke at the time, but that's just because that's what it was then. It doesn't mean it would be now.
But
one goes out to work and the other one looks after the house and the kids.
And the person could earn enough money.
Yeah, to pay for a household.
To have a 3-bed semi, have a car.
And you can't do it now.
2 holidays a
year.
Yeah.
2, whatever. Pay for Christmas.
Yeah.
Have a nice Sunday lunch every week.
Yeah. No credit cards, no overdrafts.
Can't do it anymore.
So
because you'd have to one wage would have to be earning £130,000 a year now.
Yeah.
For that to work.
Yeah. And you just can't. Not everyone can earn that.
No, you can't make it work at £1.60 a litre for diesel.
The Conservatives did same-sex marriage.
Right.
So I think that's different from the civil partnership thing.
Right.
And they say they've reduced crime by a further 56%. I can't speak for those numbers. I've never really experienced much crime in my life,
No, I've never really been around much of it.
but I imagine there are people in sort of inner cities or whatever who might not say that's right,
I've
or
had
might say
plenty-
it is.
I've had plenty of reports and like anecdotal reports, and I've had it myself where I've had stuff nicked out of a car, or I know people who have, and the reply from the police is sorry, not enough evidence.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but there's 1,000 cameras here, and you're not even tried.
Mm.
But there's not enough evidence,
Mm.
which I can only imagine, which I got before because I was involved with a claim, a RTA once, that the Conservatives had just destroyed any policing budgets.
Yeah.
You know, and this 10,000 police officers apparently is a load of nonsense.
And
They're
it's,
doing it, but there's no money there still.
and it's just bringing back the 10,000 police officers they got rid of.
Yeah, that's all it's doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
they got rid of those police officers. They're not giving you more.
Yeah.
They're giving you back.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's the same with everything, like the NHS. Like when I think Boris is talking about, oh, we're going to build 8 new hospitals.
It's like, yeah, well, you took away 8 hospitals
Yeah.
at the beginning of all this.
Oh, hang on, these hospitals are already built.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not building 8 new hospitals. They're
You're just
either-
opening them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's happened over the last 14 years? If we look at housing, for example,
Yeah.
in 2000, the average
What
house
things I could tell you
was
about housing.
4 times your salary.
Yeah.
And in 2021, it's now 8 times your salary.
How can you afford that?
And now it's and yet it still works somehow. I don't know why it still
Well, it's
works.
because people are mortgaged to the eyes.
They are.
You know, and they've got mortgages that they'll never be able to pay off.
Social housing, 28,000 houses were built under Labour in 1 year, and I think in 2020, only 7,000.
Every time. Sorry, Joe, continue.
Phones on silent.
That's my dad.
And then we look at energy. Now, we've all felt the pinch on energy.
Mm.
In 2022, companies made £45 billion profit from energy in the UK.
They shouldn't be making a penny in profit. They shouldn't be making a penny. It's a bit like the water companies. I'm sure you're going to come on to the water companies, but water, gas, energy for homes, there shouldn't be a penny being made on that in profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, people need to make money. There needs to be CEOs that have got silly wages. It's
Yeah.
always going to happen, that, because that's what pushes people to do stuff.
Yeah.
But profit implies that the company has how much? What's the number?
£45 billion in 2022
So
alone.
2022,
And that wasn't even the big energy year.
collectively, the energy companies had that much money sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
Not doing anything. It's just shareholder value.
Yeah, and that just gets paid out to the shareholders.
Nonsense.
It's not being put back into infrastructure, back into renewable energies.
Nonsense.
Whatever your thoughts are on renewable energies, I don't care. You're wrong. But your renewable energies are good.
They're great. Yeah, it's great technology.
And they've, what they spend this money on. They're just taking it out of our pockets.
And then it goes back into shareholders' pockets to make more money.
And that 45 billion, it's affected everything.
Well, with 45 billion, you might not be able to walk across Windermere without getting wet. You know?
That's affected the price of all your food.
Yep. Everything.
All your clothing.
Because we've paid that 45 billion.
Yeah.
That's our money.
Yeah.
That's not their money, that's ours.
Yeah. It's money that's been taken out of our pockets, not just through energy bills, but also through our spending every day.
It's not to mention that 22 was a COVID year.
Yeah.
Where nobody had any money anyway.
And they took it all.
And they still took what they could.
I'd hate to see what the figures for 23 last year would be like. They've not been released yet.
Yeah, but they're going to be,
Yeah, we're still...
those numbers are going to be something that the Labour, I'm going to say Labour are going to win.
Yeah.
We don't know who's going to win. I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
All the polls are indicating Labour are going to win.
But last year, I bet that 45 billion is 245 billion.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
And education and fundings fell by 9% per pupil. So
That's handy, isn't it?
they're getting less educated,
Yeah.
which you don't want to do. You want more education.
Yeah.
More education. And things like university, like the costs there have gone up by 60%,
Yeah.
and
And that was brought in by the bloody Conservatives as well, wasn't it? It was tuition fees. They brought
Yeah.
that, but they brought that in the 80s, didn't they?
I don't know about that.
I don't know
yeah.
exactly, but anyway.
And it's something you said to me the other day. No, did I say to you? I said, "Oh, somebody's moaning about us going back to square one." And I said,
you
yeah.
said that, yeah. You said to me, somebody was moaning about going back to square one. It's like, yes, let's go back to square one.
Yeah,
Because where the Conservatives have taken us is, I don't know, minus. We keep, what did you say the other day? We keep hitting the snakes.
yeah. So I sent you a message of a Conservative candidate that says, "Country will go back to square one with Keir Starmer."
Yeah, we want to go back to square
And
one.
I said, "Good.
Yeah.
Let's go back to square one because," and this is what I said.
Here we go.
In this game of snakes and ladders,
There we go.
that's been the Conservative government. We've all been landing on the snake.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Nice.
You, me,
Nice.
everybody. And only the few have risen up the ladders of corruption and greed.
Nice. He didn't reply to that, did he?
And that's what it's felt like. You know, we've been playing this game now for 14 years. Everyone's trying to get to the top because that's our culture at the moment. It's about grinding, grafting, side hustles.
There shouldn't be. I think the biggest failure of the Conservative government is allowing a gig economy to occur.
Yeah.
You cannot live a life on a gig economy.
No.
You know, gigs are exactly that. They're a one-off. They're a, this month I'm doing this, you know. But a gig economy is not a lifestyle.
No.
It's a death sentence.
And so many people have to do it. So many people
Yeah.
are having to do these side hustles.
Yeah.
It's not side hustles. It's making ends meet because your job doesn't pay enough.
Yeah.
And it's not so much the job's fault. They pay what they pay, but you can't afford to live off that anymore because the costs have risen 40% in the last 2 years on everything.
Exactly.
So now you're scratching around trying to figure out how to make some extra money.
Yeah.
And that's through Etsy or eBay or whatever.
Uber.
And now the government have sat up and gone, well, hang on, these guys are all making too much money. Let's tax them.
Yeah.
Let's tax
There
them.
shouldn't be a gig economy.
Yeah.
You should just be able to go to work and earn enough money.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. So we've just had less, I think, over the last 14 years. It
Well,
feels
we've
like
had less because it's been taken.
everything's been taken away.
Yeah.
We can't get
All-
access to services.
All the surplus has been taken as profit.
Yeah.
Has been taken as shareholder value.
And any big spending, what's it been spent? What we sit and scratch our heads. What did the government spend their money
I
on?
can't work out
Because
what
everything
value I've got from national government.
yeah.
I cannot work out what value I'm getting from it.
And I understand they spend a lot of money on things like defence, and yes, there's money coming out for education and healthcare, but like in terms of our everyday lives, it's all council money.
Yeah.
The roads,
Our
the
everyday
bins.
lives are council money. Yes, like you say, you've got the NHS and things like that, but I don't use the NHS that much. You know, I haven't used it this year. I hadn't used it last year.
Yeah,
You know, and actually the services that I did use, I had to pay for.
yeah.
You know, so it's like, so I'm not getting any value out of that at all.
No.
None at all. Defence, I mean, it's all bloody it's
Nonsense anyway.
it's all top secret anyway, so don't tell
Yeah.
us what they're doing. Somehow this veil of secrecy is okay. I don't know why it's okay.
Yeah,
It should be clear and stated as to where the money's being spent.
yeah.
You know, that's what should be happening.
And yeah, we've come to the end of these 14 years with less.
Mm.
No matter how hard you've worked. Yeah, sure. Some of you will be better off than you were 14 years ago,
Yeah,
and
but you were just the ones that managed to step on the faces
Yeah.
of other people.
I think if I look back, yeah, I mean we're both better off in a way than we were 14 years ago. We're both earning a bit more money, and our situations are different, and
Yeah,
whatever.
but only relatively, comparatively, it's basically
Yeah.
the same.
That hasn't risen with the cost of everything.
If I was earning what I'm earning now with the costs of 2005,
Yeah,
it would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know things don't work like that, but that means that, because I would say that I'm in a fairly professional position in life now,
Yeah.
and the money I'm earning feels like
If you're earning that in
builder's money.
if you're earning that in 2010, you'd be over the moon, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. If I was earning this kind, even if I was earning the equivalent kind of money,
Yeah.
in 2010, it's like, this is good money. But now it's like, it's all right, but it ain't. It's not out of this world.
Yeah.
It's not out of this world at all. It's like, it's still a bit tricky sometimes, still a bit difficult. Going on a holiday is a big decision.
Yeah.
It's like, right, because this is what we're doing this year if we're going on holiday. We're not doing anything until we've paid the holiday and gone on it, basically.
I think, like, in your household, you're probably a top 10% earning household. And
probably, yeah. I mean, we're also, was it Dinks?
You're Dinks.
We're Dinks.
So you're Dinks in a top 10% earning household.
Yeah.
And I know you don't live extravagant lifestyles or anything like that, but like last week you had a situation and you have like an emergency fund to cover that kind of thing.
No.
And
not for that much money anyway.
And it's just ridiculous. Like you should be able to afford on what you're earning the ability to.
The problem is that 20 years ago, if you had an emergency, it cost you £200 or £300.
Yeah.
And you had that in your savings. Now, an emergency is £1,500.
Yeah.
But £1,500 still feels as valuable as it did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The value is like the value held is still in your mind at the same times.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But the value you got to pay out is completely different.
Yeah.
£1,500 is the same as £300 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
But you don't have £1,500 sitting in the bank waiting.
Yeah. Your wages haven't risen, in that example, 5 times.
My wages should probably be nearly twice what they actually are.
Yeah.
To keep up with what's going on in this world.
Yeah, and it's situations like that, and we all feel that. Every one of us. It might not be that situation which you had last week. It might be your car's broken down, your boiler's packed in.
Oh yeah, if the car breaks down, you're knackered.
Yeah, your roof's caved in, or whatever. It always happens every time. Oh, I'm feeling comfortable this month.
Yeah. Oh wait.
In fact, that was you last month, wasn't it?
Was it? Yeah, no, last month was like, do you know what? We might actually have caught up here.
Yeah. Oh wait, no.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll say it. Basically, the cat's dead.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh wait, we've got to deal with that.
Yeah, and it's whether you call it sod's law or whatever.
Yeah.
The cost of living and inflation and everything which has been allowed to happen, whether they planned for it to happen or through their inaction, this has happened.
I don't think they planned for. I don't think it's as malicious as that.
Yeah.
I think the only thing the Conservative government planned to do was put more money in their pockets.
Yeah.
That was all they planned to do. Because every single Conservative, not every single, most of these Conservative politicians, and especially those in the cabinet at the minute, they've all got businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Not bloody Dave's bricklaying services. They've all got billion-pound companies, haven't they?
Or big consulting gigs and...
Yeah, and they're all raking it in off of that with government contracts.
Yeah.
At every opportunity.
And we saw that in Brexit.
Saw that in Brexit.
I don't want... not Brexit, sorry, COVID, that's what I meant. And I don't want to talk about COVID and lockdowns and that sort of stuff. I think the response to COVID was appropriate at the time. I'd never seen anything like it before. They didn't know how to respond. We had no policies in place.
Exactly. I think... things could have been done better, but my God, it could have been worse.
Could have been worse, yeah.
Couldn't it? Yeah. For small businesses, it was bad.
Yeah.
And I've worked for a small business. I've been a small business. Same for you.
Yeah.
And it has been really bad.
Yeah.
But generally, it was okay.
Generally, I'm happy with it. Yeah, they gave their mates big, hefty
which
contracts.
isn't good.
No,
that is a problem. But there is good and bad in there.
Yeah. So that's a Conservative government. You can probably get the sense that we're not very happy with them.
No.
I think we should quickly look at one of the heel snappers, the Reform UK. I've got their website up here, and I've been looking at their policies, and it's all good stuff. It's nothing like, oh no, it's just terrible. You're gonna be a terrible party. You're what's the old Nigel Farage party called? UKIP. You know, is it UKIP reborn? I suppose it is in some of their policies, but when you look at their big four things: reforming our economy, reforming our energy sector, reforming our public sector, and reforming institutions. You know, they're saying all the right things, but it's a bit populist. It's a
Quite
bit
vague as well, isn't it? It's sort of like, what's the four main things that a country has? Right, we're going to say we're going to reform them, and that's our name. But you know, how?
Yeah.
In what direction? Do you mean reform as in make them more right, or do you mean make them more left, or keep them, or push them to the centre?
Yeah.
You know, obviously everybody's idea on where things are is different.
Yeah. So on their economy, they're saying increase growth by having better wages and more tax revenue, and I think raising minimum levels of income tax because they want to free up another 1.2 over 6 million people, I think, from paying income tax, and then a further 1.2 million small businesses. I think they want to do something about reducing their tax burden.
Right.
But then if you reduce the tax burden, somebody else pays it. And hey, if it's the top 1% of earners paying it, that's fine by me.
Yeah. Well, that's who should be paying it.
Yeah.
Because at the moment they're not paying anything.
They're not paying enough. And then we have energy. They're talking about net zero, nationalising energy, which is something obviously Labour talk about.
Well, they all talk about it, don't they?
Creating British jobs.
See, now, I got a bit of a thing to pick with that, creating British jobs. Because that's just a buzzword, isn't it?
Yeah.
Creating British jobs. You're just trying to grab the boomer vote by saying that.
Yeah.
Who none of them are working now anyway. They're all retired.
Yeah.
You know? But actually, do you know the biggest problem that I see? The problem is not jobs. The problem is not work. The biggest problem that's going to be hitting the next government is birth rates.
Yeah.
People aren't having kids.
Yeah.
That's going to be an issue.
Yeah. We see that in countries like Japan.
Yeah.
And there's a few other
who
countries.
have been conservative for 50 years, and now there's no one there under the age of 35.
So they're talking about that and helping out pensions, and then we've got public sector here, which is talking about reducing wait lists.
It actually says to zero.
Demand zero waiting lists. Yeah, that's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen because they won't. The reason why it won't happen is because there's enough people who will make money out of it.
Yeah.
That a waiting list is acceptable if I'm earning some money out of it.
I think you can compare it to a bar in a busy pub.
Yeah.
You've got to wait for your beer.
Yeah.
Because it's busy.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can't have too many staff on.
You can't have too many staff
there are
on.
costs.
Exactly.
I understand there's costs.
I think you could argue that there shouldn't be profit made in the NHS, but there isn't profit made. They just cut costs at every opportunity, don't they?
So that's what they're talking about. I think they're cherry picking some populist policies. And if I go
is
further,
Lee Anderson part of their?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, you can't vote for him then, can you?
I think if I look at some of their other policies, there'll be probably some stuff there which I wouldn't agree with. I think we're talking about.
I think the fact that they've got a racist like him in there shows that.
Yeah, when we get further down the system, then we're down the line of what they call their contract with you. We've got things like Reclaiming Britain, which is about British sovereignty. Replace the 2010 Equalities Act. Propose a comprehensive free speech bill. We got free speech.
I think this sounds like a load.
Yeah,
this is populist nonsense.
Reform
I
the
went from
BBC.
going, I'm open-minded to what they've got to say. To, nah, this is rubbish.
And yeah, I think if I just dive into it a little bit more, I think we'll see some bits and pieces which might be a bit UKIP-y.
Very UKIP-y.
Like, here we go. Leave the European Convention on Human Rights. No.
The only people that is going to help are the owners of these large corporations.
Legislate to scrap EU regulations with immediate effect. No.
No.
Those things save our lives every day.
Every single day.
Every time you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed, there's EU regulations keeping you alive.
Yeah, because bent companies can't feed you chlorinated chickens.
Yeah. abandoned the Windsor Net framework. I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to comment on that. And just a few other bits and pieces like that.
The Northern Ireland thing.
Is it?
That's what it said there.
So they're just going to be, the loud kind of.
They're just the gobby ones, aren't they?
And they might get a couple of MPs, and they'll do whatever it is they do. Yeah, Lee Anderson.
He even looks like a racist.
So yeah, that I think that's where we are really with it. I'm quite excited about.
What are they saving Britain from?
Themselves.
Yeah, pretty much, isn't it? Because they're all ex-Conservatives have been kicked out.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and I think we're going to see some policies coming out of the Conservative Party. I mean, we saw one today or yesterday about national service. What is he on about? It's not as bad as it sounds. I will say that. It's not about putting you in the army and sending you off to war. He's talking about other things like working in the NHS and more about civil duty in the UK, and
I kind of get that a little bit. But I honestly think it's the Conservatives trying to throw the election. I think they're going, we don't want this anymore. Yeah. We need some time off and just to shout at the opposition for a few years.
But what a policy to come out with. Number one policy, this national service.
You know why they've come out of it now, though, didn't you? To grab the boomer vote.
Yeah.
That's the whole point in it. Not that the boomers did national service.
No.
Did they?
When did we last have national service in the UK?
I think they got rid of it in the 50s, didn't they? I'll have a check.
When you think of national service in other countries do have national service, but they've had it as part of their culture for decades and decades and decades, and it's not something which has been introduced in this kind of modern era that we're in at the moment, I feel.
On the 16th of May 1963, Richard Vaughan became the last national serviceman to be formally demobilised. So the last intake was 1960.
Was it?
Yeah. So, yeah, most of the boomers haven't done it, have they? Maybe the early ones, the ones that are old now.
Yeah.
But most of them haven't.
No.
So when you hear them go, bring back national service, most of them didn't do it.
I mean, he's talking about it'll give you a sense of national pride and create opportunities for younger people. I don't know what opportunities they'll create.
It won't create anything because they're not giving anything back.
Let's think about our workforce as well. We need people to work. If you suddenly take out all these 18-year-olds and make them do another job for another year, and they're not getting their first job, which isn't national service until they're 19.
Until they're 19, 20 years old, not earning a wage. Who's paying for them in all this time?
Yeah. And all the money they're earning, all the taxes they're not...
Because you bloody know that national service is going to be paying 13 grand a year.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh, there'll be costs. There'll be huge costs. But where's that money coming from? Because all these kids... Well, they're not kids. I'm not going to say kids. These 18-year-olds are not now out earning money, paying taxes. And we need those taxes to pay for the old generation, which, is living longer.
And this is why it's not going to work. Because there ain't enough kids to do it.
Yeah.
There ain't enough.
Where you can put all these millions of children.
Especially when mum and dad go and see their digs, wherever they are, working for the army or the NHS. Go, right, you've got to go to, I don't know, any of the army bases in the UK.
Yeah.
And they go there and go, oh wait, they're full of damp, they're full of mould, the roof's leak, the bedding's terrible, the beds are old. These places are not. They're not nice. They've only got away with it because I don't think soldiers are allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
But these army living accommodation that the army provides is terrible stuff.
Yeah.
And there was meant to be a big refurbishment program come out about 3 or 4 years ago, and this was separate from COVID, so the money was apparently there. And British government scrapped it.
Yeah.
And they'd done all the tendering process. It was all in place, literally ready to go. And they went, no, we're not doing it now.
Mm.
So all these soldiers are still living in damn, horrible, manky houses.
Yeah.
And flats and dormitories. And Mummy and Daddy are not going to be happy to let little Johnny go and live in a damp room for a year.
And he's already said there's going to be no punishment if you don't do it anyway. So it's not really national service.
No, it's not national service.
I think maybe he's just, wording you can go into the army at 18.
It feels very David Cameron, The Big Society.
Yeah.
It just sounds like buzzwords that don't mean anything because, you're saying the big society, let's all muck in and cut the bit of grass out the front of my house, but I'm not allowed to.
Yeah.
Because if I cut it for 15 years.
Right.
If I cut it for 15 years, I can claim ownership of it.
I think it's only 10 years.
Is it 10 years?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. And then also, if I cut that, I'm now maintaining it, and if somebody trips up on it, I'm now liable.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. It doesn't work under British rule, under British law.
Anyway.
Exciting
times ahead, I think.
Looking forward to.
We've got 5 weeks of... we're not going to do like a podcast on politics.
We might do 1 or 2 more of these.
I think we'll do one more before the election,
We'll definitely do one after the election to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be very interesting to see what the results are. Will Labour have the landslide which the polls are predicting? Will the Conservative Party be wiped out? Will Reform UK, this new party, have a couple of seats?
Yeah.
What will the Lib Dems and the Greens do? I think the next time we do something on politics, I'm hoping that we'll see a full manifesto from the Conservatives and Labour.
Oh, from all of them, yeah.
And see what Reform want, and we'll talk about Lib Dems and the Green parties.
I mean, we haven't even mentioned the Lib Dems, but
No.
I think the Lib Dems have... I think after the last debacle with the Lib Dems, when they went into coalition with David Cameron's government and basically just rolled over and let David Cameron stab them.
Yeah.
Every single thing that the Lib Dems said, this is what we stand for, and they went, oh yeah, but we're in power now, so it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter now.
Because Nick Clegg got his Prime Minister's pension out of it.
And works at Facebook.
He's such a slimy little He's a proper little two-faced slimy prick, that one. And I think it will take decades before the Lib Dems become serious again.
That might happen to the Conservative Party. They might be reduced down to, I've seen, 10 seats.
Really?
Like 10, 20 seats.
Who would the opposition be? Be a coalition of opposition, wouldn't
But they've already talked about that, and they've said no party will be in a coalition with them. It's going to be a right mess.
Oh.
It's going to be a mess.
It doesn't actually need an opposition, does there?
Doesn't need to be, but it's traditions, isn't it? And
yeah, it might be traditions, but
scrutiny and
as
challenging.
long as we don't end up with a crappy coalition government again.
Yeah.
As long as we don't end up with that. Anyway.
Is
that the end of it?
Well, we'll leave it there.
Sounds it, doesn't it?
Subscribe,
like, and share.
Where the bad pianos start to show, keys all out of tune, just watch 'em go. Welcome to Adam and Joe talking nonsense on the Outside Scoop podcast show.